Hey friends, what's up? Kaz here. Welcome back to another server admin tutorial or bucket spigot plugin tutorial. If you're joining for the first time, feel free to subscribe because I do these every week. If you have a suggestion on one you'd like me to do, feel free to comment that in the below. That would be the comment section for you new people. I will give you a shout out when I get around to it, which the list is pretty extensive. And this week is animated names as suggested by Dieter Remy, Star Wars Freak 2191, Rabba Masund, Creeps HD, Shrek Has a Nice Donkey, iCal Plays, Gish van der Pol, Bucky 1000, Existic, Shop, YouTube, Same J1234, and it is, like I said, animated names as made by Maxim VDW. If you don't recognize that name, it's because that is the author of Featherboard. Very helpful author, very great developer. He's made a whole lot of plugins out there. Now, what this is, as you can see on my estranged associate here, Evil Doppelgamer, basically it's like name tag edit upgraded, which it's fantastic. You also can do effects on the prefix, name and suffix, or the prefix and suffix. I don't think the name. You can also do the personal scoreboard, which is really cool. That's what's rolling through the bottom, so you can see their health, times played, and health. That's the two by default. You can add more. As long as they start with a numeric value. You can't start with a text value. It has to start with a numeric value. It'll make a little bit more sense when we get into the configuration of it. It does not change the player's name, just the prefix and the suffix. The suffix would be the spot at the end there. That's that VIP. As you can see in permissions, that's how that goes, the prefix and suffix. It doesn't change the chat display, but rather reflects what usually is already displayed in chat because it's just pulling the prefix and suffix from your permissions plugin. It also has a tie-in with the tab, which is really cool. It will display the stuff on there, and even if you have the animations or effects, that will display as well. Keep in mind, it is in alphabetical order. It is not... you can't change that. That's part of Minecraft. Invisibility potion will not hide the tag, much like if you hit F1, it's still there. So that's kind of a note there. Can't change the name. It will be applied to NPCs, so that personal scoreboard will be applied to the NPCs as well. You can't use multiple effects per line, and it only Spigot and Bucket works right now. GG servers, it does not work, and yeah, can't change the order of the tag list. Let's look at some of the commands. So we're going to do animated names. We're not really going to go into a lot of these because all the configuration is done in the config file, much like Featherboard. But you can do animated names help, and then that will display all that actually. And then permissions is kind of one I wanted to highlight. So this is your custom permissions if you want people to be able to see the help, if they want to see permissions, reset config, placeholders, that kind of stuff. Animated names.group.default. So it does run groups, so depending on what group you are, it will change the prefix and suffix, but there's a couple things about that. First of all, it doesn't inherit. You can't be a part of multiple groups, so you have to negate previous groups. For instance, if you're in that default group and then you're trying to use the default admin one that will be shown in the config in a moment, you have to negate that. I'll show you guys that in the permissions file here. You can also take a look at the placeholders, which is really cool. With an S, and then that's going to load all of the placeholders. There is a lot of them. You're probably better off going to the link in the gibbles below to that long list of placeholders, which is really awesome. That is about it for the in-game. So let's hop over to the configuration file where a lot of the configuration is done, and we'll take a look at that. Here we are in our server. It does work in 1.9. And I'm not actually running it in 1.9 right now because there is something where the tab list will not work in 1.9 right now. I'm sure the author developer will be updating that as soon as he can. Unless it's built into Minecraft, then there's not much you can do about it. But we'll go to plugins. So for right now, run on 1.8. If you want to use the tab list, if you don't really care about the tab list, you have your own custom tab list plugin already, then don't worry about it. So we're going to go into animated names. And we're going to take a look at, so this was a an error config that I had, and it replaced it and saved it, which is a great little feature. So if you ever are making changes to the config file and you want to make sure you don't lose those, copy those to YML parser online and check your syntax. Make sure you don't have any errors in there. I had some errors. But what we want to do is I actually added a couple things to the default group, so we're going to copy those back into the default group here, or the the personal scoreboard. So a couple things to note in here: you have an effects folder, so if you want to make some custom effects, otherwise you can use the built-in effects. There's a lot of them. I'll talk about those in a moment. And then you have a placeholders folder. You're not really going to do much in here. This is for advanced configuration of placeholders, different color codes, different formats, that kind of stuff that's going to pull in from your current placeholders. This list will probably look different depending on the plugins that you're running, because it's generated based upon the plugins that you have set up, which is really cool. So remote sync is the way that you can sync multiple servers together. Basically, you set a master server and then a not a slave server. So you set up the master server, what port it's listening on, and then the password. Now if you're running with a host, keep in mind you want to probably change that port, maybe check with them to figure out what open port you can use, and then you want to set your master to be true here, and then you want to enable it to be true, and then you want to set a custom password, and then all your other servers you're going to leave as a slave. You're going to point it at the IP address of your master server, the port that you set up here on your master one, and then the password, and it'll just keep checking. So keep put enabled to true, leave master false for the slaves, and then they'll check in and it'll sync across all of them. Also, the language one is great. I love it when authors put this in here. It allows you to modify the color codes to be what you need it to be on your server, or change it to be your own language. So let's take a look at the configuration. There's a whole lot of explanation in here, which is great that the author put this in here, talking about some of the placeholders or variables that are good to know. We're kind of just going to scroll down. You can disable it in certain worlds if you'd like it only to be working in some worlds. Maybe you have a PvP world and you don't want it to be in there, because then people will see each other from a mile away. You can disable it in that world by putting the world name in here. So the groups this is kind of different than permissions. Once again, like I said, you can't be a part of multiple groups. You can only be part of one group, so you have to negate previous groups if you have group inheritance going on, which most people do because it makes things a little bit easier. But the permission node is animatednames.group name, and then this is the group name. So this is default, and then we have example admin. So let's go ahead, take a look at the permissions file, and you can see what I'm talking about. So here in the default group, it doesn't need to be the same name as the group that they're in, so keep that in mind. It doesn't have to be default to be a part of this. It could be whatever you want it to be called, as long as it reflects this name. Keep in mind it might be case sensitive, so keep that consistent. But we do animatednames.group.default here, and then we can see with mine we had to negate that default group right there, and then add the example admin, which you can see there going cycling through. So we're going to jump back over the configuration. So you have your prefix text. You can change it to be whatever in here. You don't need to use a placeholder, or if you wanted to have a different placeholder, whatever you want. It can only be 16 characters, and that is after the placeholders are put in there. So it's not like just the placeholders or variables or whatever. It's after those are filled in. So you have like super long group names, it's going to get cut off maybe. And then if you want to put an animation in here, you can put that before, and you're going to do blink, and then if you spell it right, and then you do the same thing with a /, basically like HTML, and it'll put it in the middle there. Now keep in mind, if you have color coding in your permissions file and you're trying to use a color effect like rainbow or something along those lines, that is not going to work. It actually is not even going to try using that effect. And then you would want to change the interval here from 100, I think, by default. You want to lower that if you want the animation to go faster and cycle through all of that. There's a whole long list. Go ahead, check the link in the Gibbles to find that long list of built-in effects, but you can make your own if you want. And then your name suffix, that's what comes after your name. So here you can see that I tried the rainbow effect, but it did not apply because I have color codes in the admin name there. Now here's the other spot, the personal scoreboards, or the name below the username. You can just disable it if you want, put it false, but you have to restart your server in order for that to take effect. And then you could put as many lines as you want, and it's going to cycle through those, any color codes, but keep in mind it needs to start with a numeric placeholder or a number. So maybe if you want just regular text on there, you could put a 1 and then regular text, but you have to use a numeric placeholder in this personal scoreboard. So when you're looking at the list of placeholders, be sure to note what type of placeholder it is, because only numeric ones will work in this list. You can change how quickly it cycles through those. You can put color codes, like I said. You can't put the color codes at the beginning, I don't think. So keep that in mind. And that's about it in the configuration. Let's hop back over and wrap it all up. Okay, so thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful. Please leave a like if you did, because that would help me out for helping you guys out. If you have any questions, feel free to hop over to the author's help desk. That would be the best way to report any bugs, problems, that kind of stuff. Keep in mind, the main thing that he said that he gets asked a lot is that negate permission node. Keep that in mind when you're making your groups and making your different kinds of name tags. I love this plugin. It's a great little thing. It's actually pretty easy to set up. Hopefully you guys have some fun with it. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Kaz, reminding you guys all, enjoy the game. God bless. Hey, thanks for watching this. If you did not see, I launched Patreon this last week, so go ahead if you want to directly support what I'm doing here a little bit better than just watching, sharing, liking. I am very appreciative of all that, but there's extra ways that you can do to help me do what I'm doing, so go ahead and check that out. Link is in the gibbles. Thank you.